To be fair, I probably look like one of the guys that should be doing the baptisms, not getting them. But it's also fair to say that I've been a late bloomer in just about every facet of my life. So here we go. I had, for the most part, a normal upbringing, given good morals, most part raised in a home with good boundaries and rules. Boundaries that I pushed very hard upon with my parents. I know I was not an easy kid to rein in at times. As far as a Christian home went, my father was at best agnostic, probably more of an atheist. He had 2 science degrees on his wall and could challenge any theologian that would give evidence of the proof of God. My mother tried to instill some God in our household. For the most part, it didn't take root. My father was larger than life. To say that I was conflicted would be an understatement. I was probably preteen, 10, maybe 11 years old, when my mother finally won out and we started attending Salisbury United Church in Sherwood Park. It was not that God or Jesus were foreign to me, as I have both Catholic relatives on my Irish and Italian sides above me, and it's just that we never attended regular church as a family. It was about then that I did profess that Jesus was my Savior, although at the time I might not have known what that entailed or what actions was needed behind such a statement. Something else strange happened. My father, the agnostic, ran into a reverend at Salisbury United, and I saw someone that could actually challenge my father on an intellectual level, the existence of God. And although they agreed to disagree on a lot of things, they became friends, and on a certain level, he may have swayed my father in his entrenched beliefs. After that reverend and his family took a mission in the Caribbean, we drifted away again, and secular life took over, as my father obviously didn't have anybody to, trade wits with anymore. As I worked my way through my 20s, I spoke to God only occasionally. It didn't feel really a lot of presence. I felt okay with things, although there was an unexplainable absence of something in my life. A series of tragedies and betrayals rocked my life in my late 20s into my early 30s. What I should have done was prayed more and trusted more in the path God laid out before me. Instead, I became angry, bitter, depressed, and at a few points in my life nearly suicidal. Not only did I not speak to God, I was not open to the listening. I felt like I was cut adrift, forsaken, if you will. Although the King James versions of Psalm 23:4 calls it the valley of the shadow of death, the NIV version calls it the darkest valley. The only difference, I didn't have a staff to comfort me or a rod, and the difference is I chose to live in that valley for about probably 2 decades, I would say. My self-worth, which I'd always struggled with, was at an all-time low. As with most life's wounds, time brought acceptance and healing, and although a lot of those wounds don't completely heal. It wasn't until my downward spiral of my second marriage I decided to take stock of life, my choices, and why I made the choices, and started to ask a lot of questions. Questions that only God or Jesus and a relationship with Jesus can answer. A lot of the answers are only starting to become clearer to me now, but Proverbs 3:5-6 was a passage that's started to mean a lot to me. What has led me to... Oh boy, that's next page. I'm sorry. If I really wanted to do this right, it would be a novel, but we're trying to condense it to a couple pages. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean into your own understanding. I, in your ways, acknowledge him, and will make straight your paths. I also took to heart my brokenness and found in Psalm 34:18 that resonated with me. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The last few years have been a renewal of purpose, relationships, most importantly with my new wife, who has been the mortal love of my life since my teens, and a renewal of spirit and of faith. But in order to complete such a renewal, much must be cleansed and washed away. I feel this renewal can only continue with a public pledge to follow the words and actions of Jesus and cleanse away all that was not before. I have battled issues of self-worth my whole life, and this passage has been a huge help. Isaiah 41:10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Prayer, faith, and a relationship with Jesus and a constant encouragement from my wife has moved me in this direction. I may still trip and fall, but I feel I will persevere. God knows who I am. maybe for the first time in my life, I am also starting to discover who I am.
One of the things with baptism is we get to live into what we call our baptismal identity. When Jesus was baptized, the Father spoke over him and said, "This is my Son whom I love. I'm so delighted in him, so happy with him." And what the Father says to Jesus that day at Jesus' baptism, God still speaks over you, Tony. You're his son. He loves you. He knows who you are. He's showing you who you are as well. So it's my privilege to baptize you. Let's head to the water.